Welcome to From Age to Age, an oral history podcast series about the parish history and hopes for the future from the Church of St. Francis Xavier in New York City. The Oral History Project was conceived to preserve the unique history of this church by inviting our longtime parishioners to share their personal stories, illustrating why this parish is distinctive, unique, and a very special place.
Here I am,
So, my name is Aedan Alexander Mullen. I've been coming to Xavier since I was born. I was born in 2005, so I'm 18 years old now. My parents, I'm not entirely sure how they wound up here, but they got married here. And I know that they've been coming here since then. But Luz has been in charge of faith formation and family or Sunday school, really, as it was called, since I was a small child here and since I was in Sunday school.
Yeah, for me, it's so good that you are here. I know Aedan since he was in pre-kindergarten in the religious education program at Xavier, the family faith program. That is a program for students between pre-kindergarten and 12th grade, and we prepare them to receive the sacraments. And my connection to Xavier, it has two different moments in my life. There is a moment that is from 1994 to 2000. And then after, from 2007 till today. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela. And my bachelor degree was computer science, and I moved from the world of computer to the world of dance. So I became a professional dancer. So I came in 1994 to study postmodern dance in the Movement Research Institute.
That's a pretty drastic life change.
Yes.
How did you go about the change from computer science to dance? What spurred you to do that?
Yeah, I always loved dance. And I like to study computer science, but I did it mostly because my mother said, well, study that, that will give you money.
Mm-hmm.
So, but all my life, since I was a child, I had a passion for dance, for modern dance. So after working as a system analyst, I didn't feel quite happy. So I changed. I left computer world. And I became a professional modern dancer, and I danced in two major companies in Venezuela. And I came when I was 32 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I was not afraid. I came with $600, and I didn't know anybody. It was very difficult for me. It was a time that I had financial issues.
Mm-hmm.
I babysit children, babysit dogs, clean houses, paint houses, work in restaurants. I work in a fabric to create scarves. And then what I did was to paint the fabrics before they create the scarves. And also taking classes in exchange of cleaning studios.
Right.
Also, I participate in dance with individual choreographers in small companies, and I did my own work. But of course, I was living in 14th Street, in 8th Avenue. So I came to Xavier.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time I came in 1994. And I think it was an 11:30 mass. One of the things that was very interesting to me is that the choir was in the sanctuary behind the altar. So I entered, and I was wondering, is this a Catholic church?
Mm-hmm.
So I asked, because in most of the parishes, the choir are in a loft choir. They are not in the sanctuary. So I came sometimes here at Xavier on Sundays. But one of the things that I like in that moment of my life about Xavier is the opportunity to come during the weekdays when the church was open, I sit in front of the Sacred Heart of Jesus to pray because my difficult times. And if I have enough money, I brought flowers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was the first, my first connection was in that period. So in 2000, something happened that I was part of a dance theater company called, in Spanish, IATI, IATI, a dance theater company. And they sent me to the Church of the Ascension, located in 107th between Broadway and Amsterdam, to facilitate a dance theater workshop for confirmation candidates. And I didn't want to go because I didn't know anything about dance and Station of the Cross together. But I went and I did it thanks to the help of Father Sean McKelly. He was the associate pastor of Ascension in that time. And it was a change in my life. He introduced me to the world of religious education, spirituality, spiritual direction, liturgical dance. He became my first spiritual director. And then I found a faith community there. I participate actively in the liturgies as a catechist. So soon they told me to be the assistant of the director of the religious education program there, Father Sean McKelly. But soon he was appointed as a principal of the school. So I stay as director of religious education in Ascension. And I study the level 1, level 2 catechist formation, basic training for coordinators. And I receive a scholarship to study at Fordham University, the Master's in Religious Education. And what was very interesting in 2007, when I received the Master's in Religious Education diploma, Sister Catherine Ryan, a Franciscan sister of peace, she contacted me telling me that the Church of St. Francis Xavier was looking for a director of religious education. So I was very good. I felt very good in Ascension, but inside I had a desire for change. So I said, well, yeah, sister, let us meet. And I want to learn more about the Church of St. Francis Xavier. The first question she asked was, how do you feel about LGBTQ plus individuals? And I found she's asking me this, no? So I said, well, I have a gay cousin living in Spain. And as a dancer, most of my ballet teachers, dance teachers, classmates, people dancing with me in companies, they are from LGBTQ plus community. So I am very grateful to them. And I feel comfortable with them, among them. Then she told me about the important presence of the LGBTQ plus community in this parish and the great contribution of this community in hearing Xavier and beyond. So Sister Catherine talked with Joe Costantino. Remember Father Joe Costantino? He was the pastor in that time, and he contacted me and let us have an interview. I came, and when I arrived in the West Room, it was more than 25 people waiting for me for the interview.
Oh, wow.
I was a little in shock, no?
I'm not sure. Would you remember when I was like a baby?
Yes, I remember when your mother, yes. I remember when you were a baby, but I remember more when you were in pre-kindergarten, because it was very peculiar. You always were very elegant with tie.
Mm-hmm.
And then after, I remember when you received the first reconciliation, that you were disappointed because the priest didn't want to listen to your sins, and you were very well prepared. Remember that?
Yeah, a little bit. Very, very sparingly, I guess. Yeah, I was a little bit confused.
You were confused, and I remember you said, I have the list of all my sins. And I memorized the act of contrition, and he didn't want to listen to me. So then we have to find another priest for you to receive the first reconciliation. Yeah. I remember after you were the youth leader in the youth ministry with Claire.
What were the conversations? What kind of led up to the creation of youth ministry, and what was the process like in coming up with that idea and making that into real life as well?
There is a tendency for the youth, when they receive the sacrament of confirmation, they disappear, and we were trying for years to create a youth ministry, and we tried with different people. The thing that we did was to contact the youth ministry office in the Archdiocese of New York. And what they did, they have like a procedure of building youth ministries. So it has a name. I think that is called DOM, that it means home. And the process was interviewing all the youth in the church, the parish at large, with certain questions related to youth ministry. To the youth, one of the questions was, name some adults in the parish that you would like you to accompany you. So we received like more than 40 names. And then what we did is that to contact them and to say, you had been selected by the youth to be part of the committee, the youth ministry committee. So what we did was an orientation and a discernment. From there, we have like a committee of adults. And then after, we realized that this group of adults, they need a head, plus 2 youth leaders. So the youth leaders were you and Claire. And then Philip Waldroff became the leader of this group of adults. But there are so many other interesting ministries that I have the opportunity to witness in the birth, like Interfaith Committee, the yoga ministry, the homebound and the sick. But in 2008, a parishioner named Maria Springer, she reached out to me and she sent an email saying, don't you think that interfaith dialogue is important? Why we don't think about creating an interfaith committee? So right away, we start, if you want to do an interfaith committee, you need to immerse yourself in the interfaith world. So I remember going to Faith House, that is an organization led by Samir Salmodovic and Bowie Snodgrass. And I went there, I met them, and I met Rabbi David Imberg. So then we start, organizing the Interfaith Passover Seders. The first one was in the Mary Chapel, 62 people. The second one was in Hurtado Hall, more than 100 people. And the third one was almost 400 people in Hurtado Hall. Something that has been a tradition is the Interfaith Thanksgiving Eve service. I rejoice for that, the birth of that ministry. Yeah, in 2015, a parishioner named Ko-Im. She approached me and she said, I used to live in San Francisco. I taught yoga for spirituality in the Grace Cathedral in San Francisco, and it was very successful. So she wanted to do it here at Xavier. So we have that yoga ministry since that time on Tuesdays from 6:15 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. and had been very rewarding because it's open yoga classes free of charge in the sanctuary. And the other one was ministry to homebound and the sick. That was in 2011. And Michael Moran is the name. Well, this parishioner, lovely man, he said, it will be important to have a committee or a ministry that we can go to bring the Eucharist to people who are sick or homebound. So he started training Eucharistic ministers to do that. And then now Nick Grimaldi is the person in charge of that ministry. And the Eucharistic ministers that bring the Eucharist, they go to homes, but also to hospitals.
I remember, I can't remember who it was, but I remember taking part in that when I was maybe 4 or 5. My dad and I brought communion over to someone. She lived right across the street from the church.
Okay.
And I think we just took it up to her apartment. We have she gave us some little ornament, like a bird of some sort that we still have in the house somewhere.
And how was that for you?
Honestly, I remember it's a very short memory, but it was cool to see, I guess. I think I had experience with that. Like a lot of a lot of my family members on both my parents' side have been in home care at some point. So and both my parents and their families are religious. So people find ways even in those tough situations to still participate in their faith. And so for me, I think that was a good way of seeing that in action.
Yeah.
What do you think is one change that has affected you the most personally? Not necessarily within your job in the church, but within your personal experience going to Mass.
Wow, that is very important question. There is not a particular change during the liturgies that affected me. I think that the pandemic times, it was something that affected me because I always, during the pandemic when people couldn't leave the house, I always came here to help Father Ken and Father John Mulroney, one of my favorite priests. He was the associate pastor. And it was very tough to celebrate Mass for everybody because we started doing the Facebook. We didn't know how to do it, so we were learning to do everything with the iPhone in the Mary Chapel. But it was tough to see all the pews empty. And I remember certain particular an Easter vigil that we did without people. It was very tough. It didn't feel resurrection. It was very sad. And it was Father John Mulroney, Father Ken. We have 3 singers, but everybody were spread because the COVID. And I was crying. The other thing is that the final vows of Father John Mulroney was during pandemic, Pentecost. Nobody, just the provincial that in that moment was Father Cicero, Father Ken, couple of singers. It was a beautiful decoration because the Sacred Space Ministry, they place in the reredos candles, red candles, all sizes. It was all in red. It was the final vows of Father John Mulroney, and it was very touching. But that affected me, that changed, due to the pandemic. The other thing that always is sad is when parishioners die,
Mm-hmm.
or parishioners, they move to another country or to another city. Something that rejoices me is the new parishioners, especially the ones who enter through the rite of Christian initiation of adults.
RCIA is something you're involved in, right?
Yeah, I am the director of the RCIA.
What have been some of your favorite experiences with the RCIA program?
Well, always the Easter Vigil
Yes.
is, the Easter Vigil when they receive the sacraments is glorious. And the way that the Easter Vigil service is organized here is magnificent, But something that I love is to witness the cycle of life. There are some people that they enter in the RCIA because they want to get married, to raise the children in the Catholic faith. So they enter in the RCIA, then after they get married, they have children, they baptize the children here. When the child is in pre-kindergarten, they enroll in the family faith.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that movement of life taking place through the ministries. And that is something that is very precious to me. Other favorite moment is the mini retreat of RCIA that always take place in the Mary Chapel. And then everybody bring food, how you call it, potluck luncheon.
Potluck.
Most of the time, participants in the RCIA are from different countries.
Mm-hmm.
Like this year we have a Japanese, a Korean, a Chinese. So the food is an international food. It's a celebration. And then they share the saints that they selected.
Mm-hmm.
They have to do a research and select one saint that will be the patron.
Right.
The patron saint. So, we encourage them to be very creative with the selection of saints. And we say, you don't need to select a saint that is officially proclaimed saint, but somebody in your life that you think it has that quality, sainthood qualities. Right. This year, one of the participants selected the best friend who died, that it was very influential in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very touching learning about his saint and the relationship that he had with this person. And yeah, another favorite thing that happened with the RCIA was actually this last cohort, when we were in Palm Sundays, the mini retreat. Suddenly a woman entered, a woman that was not part of the RCIA. We welcomed her. Actually, we said, would you like to eat something? She said yes. So she was there listening. And then after, when we finished, somebody said, there is a woman that wants to talk with you. What's that woman? And she said, I get very moved by what I experienced there. I want to know more about the RCIA. So she said, I am unbaptized and I would like to be part of the RCIA. So that was the first form, RCIA form, that I received for the next cohort.
Right. It's nice to see those connections being made in real time.
It's like little miracles, no?
Yeah. Throughout your time here, you've taken on a lot of projects and you've worked in a lot of ministries. Which do you think has been the most challenging for you, and were there any particular successes that you felt the most proud of with your work with the different ministries?
Yeah. Faith communities are open to everybody, and there are a lot of differences. No, you have people different psychological developmental stages, different spiritual developmental stages, different ideas, different spiritualities. So sometimes it's very challenging to consolidate all these differences.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's challenge also sometimes is rewarding, but it's challenge when you work with a team, and you have to discern something, and you have some people that they want in one way and the other people they want in another way. So in that sense, for me, the spiritual conversations and to find what the Holy Spirit is telling the group where to go is very important, but it's not easy. Sometimes it's very difficult. In family faith program, we have a lot of very successful activities, events, and actually the family faith program is one of the most complete religious education programs, I think, in New York. It's not only about teaching religion, but it's also about teaching how to live religiously. So it's the teaching in the classroom, but also is the community services, the involvement in the liturgy.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the family faith choir, the altar servers, the children liturgy of the word. We have mass classes. And now we will start with masses that are for people who have autism, that it has to be very sensorial, like the lights has to be low, very simple, very short. So we will start because we have in the family faith program, we have a special needs class. All of them, they are in the autism spectrum. So yeah, well, thank you very much.
Right. It's great to speak to you.
Oh, it's lovely. And I hope that you come back more and more to this faith community.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Here I am, Lord, I come to do your
The music you are hearing is provided by the Xavier Music Ministry. From Age to Age is produced by St. Francis Xavier Church in New York City. This episode was recorded and edited by Cynthia Bastidas for Semillita Productions. A special thanks to the staff of St. Francis Xavier, Xavier High School, and Father Kenneth Bowler. Join us on our next episode. To learn more about St. Francis Xavier, visit sfxavier.org and look for us on social media. All copyrighted music reproduced with the permission of one licensed copyright, A-7000530, rights reserved. Music reprint license number 944. From downtown Manhattan, we wish you a blessed morning, day, or night.